Hello there, I am here. So today I want to make a beanie hat. Now what you need for this is I'm going to use the overlocker. This is because I want the seams as small as possible. I've got some paper here. I've got a tape measure, although anything that doesn't have any give in it, okay? So, you know, if you've only got a bit of string, that's fine. You don't need the numbers, you just need the lengths. Okay, I've got a pen. I'm hoping you can see it, and I've got some fabric scissors. So I am going to take you upwards without giving you all vertigo. I know you probably can't see anything because of the window. Come round a bit. Yay! Okay, so we need a measurement of the widest part of our head. Okay, I'm just making sure that my tape measures are not twisted, and I'm also making sure that I've got the right end to the tape measure. So, and that's if I sewed that, that would be uncomfortably tight. So, you know, we've got to remember that. Ooh, my head measures 23 inches. I know, who knew? Okay, now I'm going to take the tape measure and I'm going to place it at the nook of my skull. You know where you can feel that bony bit? Okay, and I'm going to take sure, I'm going to use the camera as a mirror. And I want it to come probably a bit up from there. So that's the other measurement. So I've got 23 and I've got 13 and a half. I can even write them down. All right, I'm going to put you back so you can see the paper. Bye! There we go. Let's try that. So, 23 and 13. Now what I need to do is I need a strip of fabric that's 23 plus half an inch to make it comfortable and plus an inch hemming allowance, yeah? So that takes me up to 25, all right? I've got I could do it so my finger is still on my piece of string and then use it to measure, yeah? Okay, now the other one's a bit more fun. So I have my 23 and I'm going to need to add 4 half inches of hem allowance. Now this will become clear because I'm going to cut the fabric and then hem it up together. So 4 half inches is going to be 2 inches, so 25. I am then going to need to know what a quarter of 25 is. So a half of 25 is 12.5 and a half of 12.5 is 6 1/4. Now what I was doing if I only had a piece of string is I'll have my measurement of 23 inches and I could quite easily fold it once, fold it twice, and then add on a hem allowance when I'm doing my little drawings, my mark on my paper, so that I know where I'm going. Now my other measurement is 13. Now I need to know half of 13, so that is going to be 6 1/2. So I'm just going to guesstimate, but I can work it out in a minute, and I'm going to do a line along the top. Yeah, and what I'm going to do is my bottom measurement, I'm just going to line up the tape measure there and I'm going to mark that in half. And it really depends. If you think that you have squiffy eyes and this is going to be quite hard, then you can raid a child's pencil case and get a set square. So now I have what I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, an isolinear triangle. And rather than go straight up, because my head's not pointy, haha, I'm quite lucky like that. In fact, I can work this out. If I was to take my tape measure again and I was to hold it at the back of my head without the window showing so you can see me, I can literally go Okay, I don't need to start going in, and that's 5 inches. So if I mark on my paper there and there, I can then draw the line, catch the star of 5 inches and go to yeah, and I've done a nice sweepy line. Okay, now I'm going to need 4 of those because it was a quarter, so 4 would make it the right size. And I know that it's long enough, because rather than trying to measure to the, you know, the pole of my head, I've measured to the centre of my head, which is not where you would think it is. So I know the measurements are correct, and I know that the curve is correct. Now, I know, you know, I'm quite lucky that I can draw a curve. So I would say, I guess, if you got a circular tray or the largest plate you have and use that for the arch, then you would be about right. So we'd have the plate around here, yeah? Okay, so the band's quite easy, and the triangles, I admit, are quite hard, but we're going to do them anyway. Okay, I'm going to get the paper switched off, I'm going to get the camera switched off, I'm going to cut the triangles, and I'm going to cut the fabric. Now, I've chosen to use fleece fabric. I just think it makes a really nice hat. There's stretch in it a little bit, but it's more the fabric has give. And it's soft, it's easy to sew. If I didn't have access to an overlocker, I could do it on a sewing machine, and this doesn't fray at all. You know, it's fine. But I'm going to use the overlocker because I've got it. Okay. Hi. Oh, excuse me. Height of summer. I shouldn't be allowed out, actually. I know. There's a reason I'm so pale. Okay, so we have our triangle. So what that is a quarter of the band round your head with hemming allowance, and there was a little bit in there for comfort because I didn't want the hat to be too tight. And then half the measurement of the longest measurement of your skull, and then a curb, a nice curve to the top. So I've got those, I've got 4 of them. And I have my band. Now, I didn't mention the width of the band, I just said band. What we're going to do is we're going to fold it over when we sew it. Yeah? Now, the overlocker. If you do get a chance to borrow one of these, then go for it. It's great fun. So all I'm going to do then I'm going to sew the other 2. Oh, one thing I didn't say. So noisy. Yeah, so what I'm doing is I'm trimming off a little strip. I'm going to keep these. All my offcuts of fleece I'm going to use for stuffing. And another thing I didn't say as well is get some paper scissors. Don't use your dressmaking scissors for cutting paper, even pattern paper, you know, keep them for best. Okay, I'm going to open those 2 out, and then I'm going to sew the last bit, and you can see where the curbs have now made a dome shape. Okay, I'm just lining these up because when you're sewing with an overlocker, it can sort of pull the thread. It can push the fabric out of alignment. Because fleece has give as well, it can push that out. Okay, always, you know, save yourself some hassle. The problem with overlocker is it doesn't really unpick, So I'm going to check that that's comfy now. I must admit, if it was too small, I think what I would do is I would cut it diagonally and then I would paste a strip in it. This is really quite tame for me, colour-wise. I did put it on inside out, that's the right way around. So that's what I've got. I've got a skull cap, yeah? Alright, back to the sewing machine. We'll blind you with the window. Yeah, the sun shines so rarely here. It's not true. England's a lovely country. Okay, so I have my strip. Now, I did mention that the overlocker pushes the fabric out of the way. So, I'm going to sew the band just together. Yeah, because it kind of grabs it, pulls it in. Yeah, so I have to be careful that when I get to the end, my ends meet. Okay, so I've got my seam on the inside here. I'm folding it over and I'm folding it over like that. Yeah? I'm attempting to. It's not that hard, honestly. Oh, there we go. So I've got both bits of fabric, and in a way, I hope you can see this, I've actually got a little lip of the under fabric. This is for my own benefit. Because so I can see that I've got 1, 2, 3 bits of fabric. So I'm going to put my seam on the seam outside so that it just folds open, yeah? So this seam where we've joined it together is enclosed, and I can line it up with a thing, I suppose. Now when the machine goes over these 1, 2, 3 seams, it's going to make a lot of noise, but it won't really affect it too much. Now what I have to do is I have to sew into it and then straighten up. So and I've put my sewing machine on a mat to make it nice and easy to slide around, which doesn't help when you're fighting this. So I can see that I've got my bottom because I've left that lip. I've got my second layer and I've got my hat. Now the temptation to pull this and stretch it is really not a good idea. Now if you are borrowing a machine and you're not used to it, or it is your first time sewing fleece, we had that pen earlier. What we could do before with the band is just mark it. Fold it in half, mark it in half, mark it in quarters, so that we know that we've got to get this seam to this mark. And I'm not talking, you know, a big bit, I'm just talking like a little line. Now if there is any difference, I'm now on the last quarter, what I can do is I can either stretch the top by pulling it up, or, well, if I wanted to stretch the top I would pull it down, and that way I would take more of the bottom fabric round, and if I wanted to give myself more fabric I would lift it up. As it is, I have to take up some of the top fabric. So rather than even attempting to do a pucker, I'm stretching it slightly. I'm using the momentum of the teeth to grab the fabric. Now you can see why everyone gets so excited about it. I really should. I should get a little cloth and go, so you can see that this has only taken me 20 minutes to make. Okay, so I'm now back on the stitches. Now whereas before I had to come in at an angle and turn it, I have to get off as quickly as possible, because if I try and come off slowly in an angle, then what happens is you get like a baggy bit of stitches and it doesn't look very good. So I know for certain I can see the previous beginning of that row of stitches. There we go. And then the first thing to do is, there was a lot of fabric to consider there, is just double check that I've managed to catch the bottom of the band and the top of the band. Now if I hadn't, what I would do is I would literally put it back in the machine and just re-sew just to catch it. But I would do that thing where I take the hat in at 90 degrees, and then as soon as I've started sewing I would whiz it round 90 degrees. Okay, that was pretty painless. If I had leftover pieces of fabric, yeah, could you imagine that? Like, I would do it a different panel. Now I would be very happy wearing that. I have a certain amount of hats that I keep in the car just in case it gets cold. If I was, you know, in the car broke down in the middle of the night, then at least with a white hat somebody would more likely see me than a grey hat. So no, I don't need to defend the colour. You can make any colour you like. But yeah, you know, the temptation to use fluorescent different panels is really there with me. Okay, please like and subscribe. There's loads of videos and hopefully you'll find one that you like. And I'll see you again. Bye.